Marcus Chen had always been the smallest recruit in the Royal Guard Academy. At 5 feet 6 inches and barely 140 pounds, he looked more like a scholar than a soldier. His fellow cadets towered over him, their broad shoulders and muscled frames making him appear even more insignificant. During formation drills, Marcus often found himself struggling to keep pace with the longer strides of his classmates. His breathing labored as they marched across the academy grounds. The academy instructors seemed to share the same opinion as his peers. Captain Williams, a gruff veteran with 30 years of service, barely acknowledged Marcus during training exercises. When the captain demonstrated combat techniques, his eyes would sweep over Marcus as if he were invisible, focusing instead on the promising recruits like Jonathan Hayes and Derek Morrison, both of whom stood well over 6 feet and possessed the kind of natural athleticism that commanded respect. Marcus came from a family of teachers and librarians. His father, David Chen, taught mathematics at the local university, while his mother, Sarah, managed the city's largest public library. They had been surprised when Marcus announced his intention to join the Royal Guard, but they supported his decision with quiet encouragement. His younger sister Emma often teased him about trying to be a hero, but her jokes carried an underlying current of genuine concern for her brother's safety. The Royal Guard Academy was located in the heart of the capital city, its imposing stone buildings and manicured grounds reflecting the prestige of the organization. Founded 2 centuries earlier, the Guard served as the elite protection force for the royal family and handled the most sensitive security matters in the kingdom. Only the most exceptional candidates were accepted, and the training program had a notorious dropout rate of nearly 60%. Marcus had barely qualified for admission. His academic scores were excellent, ranking in the top 5%, but his physical assessments were mediocre at best. The admissions board had debated his application for hours before finally accepting him, primarily due to his outstanding performance on the psychological evaluation and his demonstrated ability to remain calm under pressure. The daily routine at the academy was grueling. Reveille sounded at 5 in the morning, followed by a 2-mile run around the academy perimeter. Marcus consistently finished among the last 10% of his class, his lungs burning as he pushed his smaller frame to keep up. Breakfast was brief and functional, followed by 4 hours of combat training in the gymnasium. During hand-to-hand combat sessions, Marcus found himself repeatedly thrown to the mat by opponents who outweighed him by 50 pounds or more. His technique was sound, but his lack of physical presence made it difficult to execute moves effectively against larger opponents. The other cadets began referring to him as Little Chen, a nickname that stung more than any physical blow he received during training. Weapons training presented a different set of challenges. The standard-issue rifles used by the Royal Guard were heavy and unwieldy for someone of Marcus's slight build. His marksmanship scores were average, nothing that would distinguish him from his peers. The instructors focused their attention on cadets who showed natural talent with firearms, leaving Marcus to struggle largely on his own. Lieutenant Rebecca Stone was the Academy's marksmanship instructor, a former Special Forces sniper who had served with distinction in 3 overseas conflicts. She was known for her exacting standards and her ability to identify potential in even the most unlikely candidates. Unlike the other instructors, Lieutenant Stone occasionally paused to observe Marcus during shooting exercises, though she rarely offered specific feedback. The Academy's shooting range was state-of-the-art, featuring both indoor and outdoor facilities with targets ranging from 25 to 1,000 meters. Most training focused on the shorter distances, as Royal Guard duties typically involved close protection work rather than long-range engagements. Marcus found himself drawn to the longer distances during his free time, spending hours on the 1,000-meter range when other cadets were relaxing or studying. His roommate, Kevin Park, often questioned Marcus's dedication to long-range shooting. Kevin was a solid, middle-of-the-pack cadet who approached training with methodical determination. He understood that Royal Guard work rarely required shots beyond 50 meters, making Marcus's obsession with extreme distances seem like a waste of time. Kevin was practical and results-oriented, qualities that served him well in the Academy's competitive environment. As weeks turned into months, Marcus began to find his rhythm with long-distance shooting. His smaller frame, which was a disadvantage in hand-to-hand combat, proved beneficial when assuming prone shooting positions. He could settle into uncomfortable positions for extended periods, his patience allowing him to wait for perfect shooting conditions. His mathematical background helped him calculate wind drift and bullet drop with remarkable accuracy. The Academy's academic curriculum was as demanding as its physical training. Cadets studied constitutional law, threat assessment, emergency medical procedures, and diplomatic protocol. Marcus excelled in these subjects, his natural analytical abilities and study habits earning him consistent high marks. His classmates often sought his help with difficult coursework, though they still dismissed his potential as an actual guard. Captain Williams taught a course on tactical decision-making, using historical case studies to illustrate proper responses to various threat scenarios. During these sessions, Marcus consistently provided insightful analysis, identifying details that other cadets missed. His suggestions were often unconventional, but demonstrated a deep understanding of security principles and human psychology. One particularly challenging scenario involved a simulated assassination attempt during a royal parade. Most cadets focused on immediate protective measures and evacuation protocols. Marcus proposed a more nuanced approach that considered the psychological profile of potential threats and suggested positioning adjustments that would provide better observation angles without compromising the parade experience. Captain Williams acknowledged the quality of Marcus's analysis with a brief nod. The closest thing to praise Marcus had received from any instructor. The Academy's social hierarchy was clearly defined, with the most physically impressive and naturally talented cadets forming an informal leadership group. Jonathan Hayes had emerged as the unofficial class leader, his combination of size, athleticism, and charisma, making him a natural focal point for other cadets. Derek Morrison served as Jonathan's lieutenant, equally impressive physically and possessed of a sharp tactical mind that complemented Jonathan's leadership abilities. Marcus found himself relegated to the periphery of Academy social life. He was neither disliked nor particularly popular, simply overlooked in favor of more prominent personalities. During evening study sessions, he often worked alone, while other cadets formed study groups around the more influential members of the class. This isolation was not entirely unwelcome, as it allowed Marcus to focus intensively on his training and academic work. The Academy maintained rigorous standards for academic and physical performance. Cadets who fell below established benchmarks faced dismissal, while those who consistently excelled earned recognition and enhanced training opportunities. Marcus's academic performance kept him well above the minimum requirements, but his physical scores hovered dangerously close to the threshold for continuation in the program. Midterm evaluations arrived after 16 weeks of training. Each cadet received a comprehensive assessment covering physical fitness, marksmanship, tactical knowledge, and leadership potential. Marcus's report card reflected his mixed performance. Excellent marks in academics and tactical analysis, mediocre scores in physical fitness and standard marksmanship, and a concerning notation about his limited command presence. Captain Williams called Marcus to his office following the midterm evaluations. The captain's office was spartanly furnished, featuring only a desk, 2 chairs, and walls lined with commendations and photographs from Williams's distinguished career. The captain studied Marcus's file for several minutes before speaking, his weathered face revealing nothing of his thoughts. The conversation was brief but pointed. Captain Williams acknowledged Marcus's academic excellence while expressing concern about his overall suitability for Royal Guard service. He suggested that Marcus might be better suited for intelligence analysis or administrative roles within the security apparatus. The captain's tone was not unkind, but his message was clear. Marcus lacked the physical presence and natural authority expected of a Royal Guard member. Marcus left the captain's office with a mixture of determination and uncertainty. He understood the captain's concerns and recognized the validity of the assessment. His classmates possessed qualities that he simply could not match through effort alone. Yet something deep within him refused to accept that his dream was unattainable. That evening, he made a decision that would ultimately change everything. The Academy's shooting range remained open 24 hours a day, staffed by duty instructors who supervised late-night practice sessions. Marcus began spending every available moment on the range, focusing exclusively on long-distance precision shooting. He studied ballistics tables, weather patterns, and advanced marksmanship techniques with the same intensity he had once applied to his academic subjects. Lieutenant Stone noticed Marcus's increased presence on the range during her late evening rounds. She observed him from a distance, noting his meticulous preparation and unwavering concentration. His form was improving steadily, and his shot groupings were becoming remarkably consistent at distances that challenged even experienced marksmen. Something about his dedication and focus reminded her of her own early career, when she had overcome similar physical limitations through sheer determination and specialized skill development. The lieutenant began leaving advanced marksmanship manuals in Marcus's shooting lane, never acknowledging the gesture directly but ensuring he had access to specialized knowledge typically reserved for advanced students. She also occasionally adjusted the range conditions to provide him with more challenging scenarios, forcing him to adapt his techniques to variable wind patterns and lighting conditions. Marcus's academic performance continued to excel as the semester progressed. His understanding of security protocols and threat assessment methodologies surpassed that of most senior cadets. He developed a reputation among instructors for providing detailed, thoughtful responses to complex tactical scenarios. His written assignments consistently earned the highest marks in the class, demonstrating an analytical depth that impressed even the most demanding professors. Physical training remained a struggle, though Marcus had achieved modest improvements through persistent effort. His cardiovascular fitness had improved significantly, allowing him to complete the daily runs without finishing last. His hand-to-hand combat skills remained limited by his size disadvantage, but he had learned to use technique and leverage more effectively against larger opponents. The other cadets had largely settled into their assessment of Marcus as an academic overachiever who lacked the essential qualities for field service. Jonathan Hayes occasionally made disparaging comments about bookworms and desk jockeys, though he stopped short of direct harassment. Most cadets simply ignored Marcus, treating him as irrelevant to their own career aspirations. Kevin Park remained Marcus's closest friend at the academy, though their relationship was built more on proximity and mutual respect than deep personal connection. Kevin appreciated Marcus's academic assistance and admired his persistence, but he also shared the general skepticism about Marcus's future as an operational guard. Their conversations often centered on Kevin's assumption that Marcus would eventually be reassigned to an analytical role. As the first phase of academy training neared its conclusion, anticipation grew among the cadets regarding their upcoming field exercise. The exercise was legendary among academy alumni, a week-long simulation designed to test every skill learned during the initial training period. Cadets would be evaluated on their ability to protect a simulated royal family during various scenarios, including public appearances, travel, and emergency situations. The exercise would take place at a specially constructed facility outside the capital, featuring realistic urban and rural environments, where cadets could demonstrate their capabilities under pressure. Past exercises had resulted in significant eliminations from the program, as cadets who had performed adequately in controlled academy settings often struggled when faced with the chaos and uncertainty of field conditions. Marcus spent his final weeks of preparation, focusing on mental rehearsal and equipment familiarization. He studied floor plans of the exercise facility and memorized the biographical details of the actors who would portray the royal family. His approach was characteristically methodical, leaving nothing to chance that could be controlled through preparation. Lieutenant Stone made her first direct contact with Marcus 3 days before the exercise. She approached him during a late-night shooting session, her presence announced only by the soft sound of her boots on the range floor. Marcus continued his shooting sequence, unwilling to break his concentration until the string was complete. When he finally lowered his rifle and turned to face her, Lieutenant Stone's expression was unreadable. She had been observing his progress for months, noting his transformation from a struggling marksman to someone approaching genuine expertise in long-range precision shooting. His scores at extreme distances now rivaled those of instructors, though this achievement had gone largely unnoticed by other academy staff. Their conversation was brief but significant. Lieutenant Stone acknowledged Marcus's dedication and improvement, while also providing him with a single piece of advice that would prove crucial in the coming days. She suggested that he consider how his unique skills might be applied in scenarios where traditional Royal Guard tactics might prove insufficient. The night before the field exercise, Marcus lay in his narrow academy bunk, staring at the ceiling and contemplating the path that had brought him to this point. His journey had been marked by consistent underestimation and quiet determination. Tomorrow would provide his first real opportunity to demonstrate that there might be value in approaches that differed from conventional Royal Guard methodology. Sleep came eventually, though it was troubled by dreams of missed opportunities and unexpected chances for redemption. Marcus woke before reveille, his mind already focused on the challenges ahead. He had no way of knowing that the coming week would forever change not only his own trajectory but also the Academy's understanding of what made an effective Royal Guard member. The exercise would test everything he had learned, but more importantly, it would reveal capabilities that even he had not fully understood. His classmates would enter the exercise confident in their assessments and expectations. They would discover that their smallest, most overlooked colleague harbored skills that would prove invaluable when conventional approaches failed. As dawn broke over the Academy grounds, Marcus prepared for a week that would transform him from an underestimated cadet into something far more significant. The precision shot that would change everything was still days away, waiting for the perfect convergence of opportunity, preparation, and desperate necessity. The field exercise facility sprawled across 300 acres of carefully constructed terrain, designed to replicate every environment where Royal Guard members might operate. Mock urban streets complete with working traffic lights and populated with civilian actors created an authentic city atmosphere. Rural areas featured dense forests, open meadows, and elevated observation points that would challenge cadets to adapt their protective strategies to varied landscapes. Marcus stepped off the transport bus with his 47 remaining classmates, his gear bag containing the standard equipment issued to all participants. Unlike some cadets who had requested additional or specialized equipment, Marcus carried only what was authorized, though his rifle had been carefully zeroed for extreme distance accuracy during his countless practice sessions. The exercise controllers briefed the cadets on their mission parameters in a sterile conference room that contrasted sharply with the elaborate simulation environments outside. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, the exercise director, outlined the scenario with military precision. The cadets would provide protection for a mock royal family consisting of 4 actors representing the king, queen, crown prince, and princess during a week-long series of public engagements. The royal family's schedule included a public parade through the mock city, a rural hunting expedition, a formal state dinner with international dignitaries, and several impromptu appearances designed to test the cadets' ability to adapt their protective measures to unexpected situations. Professional actors trained in royal protocol would portray the family members, while additional actors would represent potential threats ranging from overly enthusiastic civilians to sophisticated assassination attempts. Colonel Mitchell emphasized that the exercise would be evaluated by a team of active Royal Guard members and Academy instructors positioned throughout the facility. Every decision, communication, and action would be recorded and analyzed. Cadets who demonstrated exceptional performance would be eligible for advanced training tracks, while those who failed to meet standards would face immediate dismissal from the program. The cadets were divided into teams of 8, with each team responsible for specific aspects of the protective mission. Marcus found himself assigned to Team 6, designated as the Outer Perimeter Security Unit. His teammates included Kevin Park and 5 other cadets who had performed adequately, but not exceptionally during Academy training. Jonathan Hayes and Derek Morrison were both assigned to the Primary Protective Detail, positions that reflected their status as the Academy's most promising candidates. Team 6's responsibilities included advanced reconnaissance, crowd control, and monitoring potential threat approaches from distances beyond the immediate protective perimeter. It was considered a less glamorous assignment compared to close protection duties, but Marcus understood that outer perimeter work offered opportunities to demonstrate skills that might otherwise go unnoticed. The exercise began with a simulated arrival ceremony at the facility's mock airport. The royal family's aircraft landed on a functional runway, while cadets took their assigned positions throughout the terminal and surrounding areas. Marcus positioned himself on an elevated observation deck that provided clear sightlines across the entire arrival area, his rifle equipped with a high-powered scope suitable for long-range surveillance. From his elevated position, Marcus could observe the entire operation unfolding below. The primary protective detail surrounded the royal family with textbook precision, their movements coordinated and professional. Team 6 members spread throughout the terminal, establishing checkpoints and monitoring civilian actors who had been instructed to behave as typical airport crowds. The first day proceeded smoothly, with cadets successfully managing several minor challenges designed to test their adaptability. A delayed aircraft departure required rapid replanning of protective formations, while an overly aggressive actor portraying a journalist tested the cadets' ability to balance public relations concerns with security requirements. Marcus contributed to his team's success through detailed reconnaissance reports and accurate crowd assessments, though his contributions went largely unnoticed by the exercise evaluators. Evening brought the first major challenge of the exercise. Intelligence briefers informed the cadets that credible threat information suggested a possible assassination attempt during the next day's public parade. The briefing included photographs of suspected operatives and intelligence reports indicating that the threat might involve long-range weapons rather than close-quarters attacks. Team leaders gathered to develop response strategies, with most focusing on enhanced close protection measures and increased screening of parade spectators. Marcus studied the threat intelligence carefully, noting details that others seemed to overlook. The suspected operatives appeared to have military or law enforcement training, suggesting they would employ sophisticated tactics rather than crude approaches. His analysis of the parade route revealed several concerning vulnerabilities. The route included a section where the royal motorcade would slow to navigate a sharp turn, creating a window of opportunity for a skilled marksman positioned in one of several elevated buildings overlooking the street. Traditional security measures would focus on the buildings closest to the route, but Marcus calculated that a highly skilled shooter could operate effectively from positions much farther away. During the team leaders' meeting, Marcus requested permission to present his analysis. His team leader, Cadet Sergeant Lisa Rodriguez, was skeptical, but agreed to allow him a few minutes to share his concerns. Marcus outlined his assessment of the long-range threat potential, providing detailed calculations of sight lines and effective shooting positions that extended far beyond the planned security perimeter. Most team leaders dismissed Marcus's analysis as overly complicated and impractical. They argued that Royal Guard protocols called for establishing security perimeters based on standard threat assessments, and that extending protection to extreme ranges was neither feasible nor necessary. Jonathan Hayes spoke for the group when he suggested that Marcus was overthinking a straightforward security problem. Cadet Sergeant Rodriguez supported Marcus's analysis, though she lacked the authority to implement his suggested modifications to the security plan. She agreed to position Marcus at an extended observation post that would provide coverage of the areas he had identified as potential threat positions, but this assignment was framed as an accommodation to his concerns rather than a validation of his tactical assessment. The second day dawned clear and cold, ideal conditions for the parade, but also perfect for long-range marksmanship. Marcus took his assigned position in a clock tower that stood 800 meters from the parade route's most vulnerable point. His elevation provided excellent sightlines across the urban landscape, though his radio communication with other team members was complicated by the extended distance from the main security formation. From his elevated position, Marcus systematically surveyed the buildings and structures within his area of responsibility. Most appeared to be unoccupied, their windows reflecting the morning sunlight without revealing any signs of human presence. His scope's magnification allowed him to examine individual windows and rooftops with remarkable detail, searching for any anomaly that might indicate a threat. The parade began precisely on schedule, with the royal motorcade proceeding through the mock city streets lined with enthusiastic civilian actors. Marcus monitored radio communications while maintaining visual surveillance of his assigned area. His attention focused on potential threat positions rather than the celebration unfolding below. Primary protective teams reported normal conditions as the motorcade approached the critical turn that Marcus had identified as the route's most vulnerable point. Crowd control measures were functioning effectively, and preliminary reconnaissance had revealed no obvious threats in the immediate area. The exercise appeared to be proceeding according to plan, with cadets successfully managing their assigned responsibilities. Marcus detected the first sign of trouble through his scope at 10:47 a.m. A window in a building nearly 1,000 meters from the parade route showed a brief glint of reflected light that differed from the consistent pattern of empty windows he had been observing. The anomaly lasted only seconds, but it was enough to focus his attention on that specific location. Further observation revealed subtle movements behind the window that suggested human presence. Marcus attempted to radio his concerns to the primary protective detail, but his transmission was interrupted by routine communications traffic that prevented his message from reaching the team leaders. The radio protocols prioritized communications from primary positions, relegating outer perimeter reports to secondary importance. The royal motorcade continued its approach to the vulnerable turn, now less than 2 minutes from the position where Marcus's calculations indicated a long-range attack would be most effective. His scope revealed additional details about the suspected threat position. A rifle barrel barely visible in the window's shadow, positioned at an angle that would provide a clear shot at the motorcade during its slowest point. Marcus's second attempt to radio his observation was again blocked by communication traffic. The parade's success had created a sense of confidence among the primary teams, and their regular status reports dominated the radio channels. Standard protocol required outer perimeter observers to wait for appropriate communication windows, but Marcus realized that following protocol would result in a failure to warn the protective detail before the threat materialized. His training emphasized the importance of following established procedures and maintaining proper communication discipline. Deviation from protocol could result in exercise failure and potential dismissal from the academy. Yet his observation of the threat position left no doubt that a simulated assassination attempt was imminent, and the primary protective detail remained unaware of the danger approaching their position. The motorcade entered the critical turn at reduced speed, exactly as Marcus's analysis had predicted. Through his scope, he could see the royal family clearly visible in their vehicles, while the suspected threat position showed increased activity. A rifle muzzle became more clearly defined in the distant window, its angle of aim tracking the motorcade's movement through the turn. Marcus made a decision that violated his training and could end his career. Rather than continue attempting to radio his observations, he adjusted his own rifle to engage the threat position directly. His calculations indicated that the extreme range would challenge even his improved marksmanship skills, but waiting for proper communication protocols would ensure the success of the simulated assassination. The mathematical precision that had served him well in academic subjects now guided his shooting solution. Wind speed, target distance, elevation difference, and atmospheric conditions all factored into his calculations as he prepared for the longest shot he had ever attempted under pressure. His breathing slowed to the controlled rhythm he had practiced during countless late-night training sessions. The distant muzzle flash appeared in Marcus's scope at the exact moment he had anticipated, confirming the presence of a threat that the primary protective detail still had not detected. His own shot followed milliseconds later, the rifle's recoil familiar and controlled despite the pressure of the situation. Marcus's bullet covered the 1,000-meter distance in just over a second, its trajectory calculated to intersect the threat position with mathematical precision. The simulated ammunition used in the exercise produced a distinctive marking compound upon impact, clearly indicating successful engagement of the target. The effect of Marcus's shot was immediate and dramatic. Exercise controllers positioned throughout the facility confirmed the neutralization of a threat that had gone undetected by the primary protective detail until the moment of engagement. Radio communications exploded with confused reports as team leaders struggled to understand what had occurred. Colonel Mitchell's voice cut through the communication chaos with a direct query to all positions, requesting identification of the shooter who had engaged the threat. Marcus responded immediately, providing his position and a brief description of his observations and actions. His transmission was met with stunned silence as exercise participants and controllers absorbed the implications of what had occurred. The exercise was temporarily suspended while controllers assessed the situation and reviewed recorded data from the engagement. Marcus remained in his position, his rifle carefully cleared and secured according to safety protocols, waiting for instructions that would determine his immediate future at the academy. Jonathan Hayes's voice eventually broke the radio silence with a question that reflected the confusion of most participants. His query about how anyone could have detected a threat at such extreme range emphasized the disconnect between traditional Royal Guard tactics and the specialized skills that Marcus had developed through months of focused training. Lieutenant Stone's voice provided the first official response to the situation. Her transmission acknowledged Marcus's successful engagement while directing him to maintain his position until formal debrief procedures could be implemented. Her tone carried a note of professional satisfaction that suggested she was not entirely surprised by Marcus's performance. The royal motorcade completed its parade route under enhanced security measures, while exercise controllers conducted a preliminary investigation of the engagement. Marcus's position provided him with a clear view of the increased activity around the threat building, where controllers were documenting the precise impact point of his shot and interviewing the actor who had portrayed the assassin. Kevin Park's radio transmission represented the first personal communication Marcus received following his shot. Kevin's amazement at his roommate's performance reflected the broader shock among cadets who had never considered Marcus capable of such extraordinary marksmanship. The incredulity in Kevin's voice captured the general sentiment of his classmates. As afternoon stretched into evening, Marcus remained at his observation post while the exercise continued around him. His action had fundamentally altered the dynamic of the simulation, forcing exercise controllers to adjust scenarios and evaluate performance criteria that had not been anticipated when the exercise was designed. The implications of his success extended beyond personal achievement to challenge basic assumptions about Royal Guard training and tactical doctrine. His unconventional approach had succeeded where traditional methods had failed, suggesting that the Academy's emphasis on standard procedures might overlook valuable alternative capabilities. When Marcus finally descended from his position late that evening, he faced a mixture of admiration and suspicion from his fellow cadets. Some recognized the exceptional nature of his achievement, while others questioned whether his violation of communication protocols represented a dangerous deviation from established procedures. The second day of the exercise concluded with Marcus transformed from an overlooked cadet to the subject of intense scrutiny from instructors, evaluators, and fellow participants. His precision shot had changed not only his own trajectory, but also forced a re-evaluation of fundamental assumptions about protective tactics and individual capabilities within the Royal Guard structure. The formal debrief session convened at dawn on the third day, held in the facility's main conference room under the direction of Colonel Mitchell and a panel of senior Royal Guard officers who had arrived overnight to investigate Marcus's unprecedented engagement. The atmosphere was tense, with cadets arranged in precise formation, while instructors and evaluators occupied elevated seating that emphasized the gravity of the proceedings. Marcus stood at attention before the panel, his academy uniform immaculate despite the previous day's extended duty in the observation tower. His expression remained calm and professional, though internally he grappled with uncertainty about whether his actions would be viewed as brilliant innovation or dangerous insubordination. The assembled officers represented decades of Royal Guard experience, their faces revealing nothing of their assessment of the situation. Colonel Mitchell began the session by outlining the facts as recorded by exercise monitoring systems. Marcus's shot had traveled exactly 1,047 meters under challenging atmospheric conditions, striking the simulated assassin with sufficient accuracy to constitute a confirmed neutralization. The engagement had occurred without authorization from supervisory personnel and in violation of established communication protocols, though it had successfully prevented a scenario that would otherwise have resulted in exercise failure. The simulated assassin, portrayed by Master Sergeant David Kyle, was invited to provide his assessment of the engagement. Kyle was a 20-year veteran of Special Forces with extensive experience in realistic training scenarios. His testimony carried significant weight among the assembled officers, as his professional judgment was respected throughout the military establishment. Kyle's analysis was methodical and detailed. He confirmed that his position had been selected specifically because it lay outside the range typically covered by Royal Guard protective measures. His weapons platform and shooting solution had been designed to represent a sophisticated threat that would challenge conventional security responses. The engagement distance exceeded what Kyle had believed possible for Academy cadets, leading him to assume his position was undetectable. The Master Sergeant's description of Marcus's shot impressed even the most skeptical officers. The bullet had struck within inches of Kyle's simulated center mass, despite the extreme range and challenging conditions. Kyle acknowledged that his own military experience included few marksmen capable of such precision under pressure, particularly individuals with Marcus's limited training time and physical stature. Major Patricia Reynolds, the senior Royal Guard representative on the panel, questioned Marcus directly about his decision-making process during the critical moments before his shot. Her queries focused on his violation of communication protocols and his assumption of authority to engage a threat without supervisory approval. These questions addressed fundamental issues of discipline and chain of command that formed the foundation of Royal Guard operations. Marcus's response demonstrated the analytical thinking that had distinguished his academic performance. He acknowledged his protocol violations while explaining the tactical reasoning that had guided his actions. His assessment of communication delays, threat timing, and protective vulnerability had led him to conclude that following standard procedures would result in mission failure. His decision to engage represented a calculated risk based on his unique capabilities and tactical assessment. The questioning revealed the complexity of evaluating unconventional actions within a structured military environment. Marcus's violation of established procedures had achieved mission success, but his individual initiative challenged the collective decision-making processes that ensured coordinated responses in Royal Guard operations. The panel struggled to balance recognition of his achievement with concerns about the precedent his actions might establish. Lieutenant Stone testified regarding Marcus's training progression and demonstrated capabilities during his extended practice sessions. Her testimony provided context for his marksmanship achievement while addressing questions about whether his skills had been adequately recognized during regular training assessments. Her account revealed the systematic development of abilities that had gone largely unnoticed by other instructional staff. The lieutenant's description of Marcus's dedication and improvement challenged assumptions about natural talent versus developed skill. His transformation from a struggling marksman to someone capable of extreme precision shooting illustrated the potential value of specialized training that extended beyond standard curricula. Her testimony suggested that the Academy's evaluation methods might overlook valuable capabilities that developed outside conventional training frameworks. Captain Williams provided a contrasting perspective based on his assessment of Marcus's overall suitability for Royal Guard service. He acknowledged the exceptional nature of Marcus's marksmanship while maintaining concerns about his physical limitations and command presence. Williams argued that Royal Guard effectiveness depended on consistent performance across multiple skill areas rather than exceptional ability in a single specialized domain. The captain's testimony reflected traditional Royal Guard values that emphasized well-rounded capabilities and proven leadership potential. His concerns about Marcus's physical stature and limited command presence addressed practical issues that would affect his ability to perform standard protective duties. Williams questioned whether exceptional marksmanship could compensate for limitations in areas that formed the core of Royal Guard responsibilities. Jonathan Hayes was called to provide a peer perspective on Marcus's performance and integration within the cadet community. His testimony was carefully measured, acknowledging Marcus's academic excellence and recent marksmanship achievement, while expressing reservations about his leadership potential and physical capabilities. Jonathan's assessment reflected the general opinion among high-performing cadets who had dominated Academy life. Hayes emphasized the collective nature of Royal Guard operations, arguing that individual exceptional skills were less important than the ability to function effectively as part of a coordinated team. His critique of Marcus focused on communication style and physical presence, suggesting that these limitations would prevent effective integration into operational units, regardless of specialized capabilities. The panel's deliberations extended through the morning as officers considered the implications of Marcus's performance for both his individual career and broader Royal Guard training policies. Their discussions addressed fundamental questions about the balance between standardized training and individual skill development, as well as the appropriate response to unconventional tactical decisions that achieved positive outcomes. Colonel Mitchell announced a temporary suspension of Marcus's participation in the remaining exercise activities while the panel completed their evaluation. This decision isolated Marcus from his classmates during a critical phase of training, though it also protected him from potential negative reactions from cadets who might view his actions as grandstanding or protocol violation. The afternoon brought individual interviews with key personnel who had observed Marcus's development throughout the Academy program. These sessions provided the panel with comprehensive information about his academic performance, training progression, and interaction with instructors and peers. The interviews revealed a consistent pattern of intellectual capability combined with persistent physical and social challenges. Dr. Margaret Foster, the Academy's psychological counselor, testified about Marcus's psychological evaluation scores and behavioral observations. Her assessment emphasized his emotional stability, analytical thinking, and resistance to pressure that had originally qualified him for Academy admission. Dr. Foster's testimony supported the conclusion that Marcus possessed the mental characteristics necessary for Royal Guard service, though questions remained about optimal utilization of his capabilities. The evening session included testimony from civilian actors who had portrayed threat scenarios throughout the exercise. Their perspectives provided insight into how various protective approaches appeared to potential adversaries, offering valuable feedback about the effectiveness of different tactical methods. Several actors specifically mentioned observing Marcus during reconnaissance phases, noting his systematic approach and attention to detail. Overnight deliberations among panel members addressed policy implications that extended beyond Marcus's individual case. His success challenged established training methodologies and suggested that current evaluation criteria might overlook valuable capabilities. The panel's recommendations would influence not only Marcus's future but also potential modifications to academy curricula and assessment procedures. The fourth day began with continued exercise activities for other cadets, while Marcus remained in administrative suspension pending final panel decisions. His classmates proceeded through scenarios involving dignitary protection during rural hunting expeditions and formal state dinners, though his absence created gaps in Team 6's capabilities that affected overall exercise dynamics. Kevin Park attempted to maintain normal routines despite his roommate's uncertain status, though the situation created tension within their living quarters. Kevin's loyalty to Marcus conflicted with his desire to avoid association with controversial actions that might affect his own academy standing. Their conversations became strained as Kevin struggled to balance friendship with career concerns. Lieutenant Stone approached Marcus during his suspension period, offering informal guidance about managing the stress of professional uncertainty. Her advice emphasized the importance of maintaining confidence in his abilities while remaining open to alternative career paths if the panel determined that his approach was incompatible with standard Royal Guard operations. Her support provided valuable encouragement during a difficult period. The lieutenant's mentoring revealed her own career experiences with unconventional tactical approaches that had initially been viewed skeptically by supervisors. Her progression from questioned innovator to respected instructor illustrated potential pathways for individuals whose capabilities differed from established norms. Her perspective offered hope that Marcus's situation might ultimately result in positive outcomes. Marcus spent his suspension time analyzing the tactical scenarios unfolding during the continued exercise, maintaining his skills through individual practice while awaiting the panel's decision. His access to monitoring systems allowed him to observe his classmates' performance and identify areas where his specialized capabilities might have contributed to mission success. His analysis revealed several situations where long-range observation and precision engagement capabilities could have enhanced protective effectiveness. Traditional approaches had succeeded in most scenarios, but Marcus identified specific vulnerabilities that remained unaddressed by conventional methods. His observations strengthened his conviction that specialized skills deserved recognition within Royal Guard structure. The exercise's formal state dinner scenario presented particular challenges that highlighted the value of diverse capabilities within protective teams. The complex environment included multiple buildings, varied threat vectors, and sophisticated social dynamics that tested cadets' ability to maintain security while preserving diplomatic protocols. Marcus's analytical review identified several areas where his approach might have provided enhanced protective coverage. Jonathan Hayes distinguished himself during the state dinner scenario, demonstrating the leadership and tactical competence that had established his reputation as the Academy's most promising candidate. His performance reinforced traditional Royal Guard values while achieving mission success through conventional methods. His success provided a counterpoint to arguments supporting unconventional approaches like those demonstrated by Marcus. Derek Morrison's performance during rural scenarios showcased the physical capabilities and aggressive tactical approach favored by Royal Guard tradition. His ability to rapidly adapt protective formations to challenging terrain illustrated the importance of athletic ability and command presence in field operations. Morrison's success supported arguments that physical limitations represented genuine barriers to Royal Guard effectiveness. The exercise's penultimate day featured emergency evacuation scenarios designed to test cadets' ability to protect royal family members during crisis situations involving multiple simultaneous threats. These scenarios required rapid decision-making, physical capability, and coordinated responses that challenged participants across all skill areas. The absence of Marcus's specialized capabilities was noticed by some evaluators, who had begun to recognize the value of diverse tactical approaches. Team 6's performance suffered measurably during complex scenarios that would have benefited from Marcus's analytical capabilities and precision engagement skills. His teammates struggled to adapt to his absence, while maintaining effectiveness in situations that required the enhanced reconnaissance and threat assessment abilities he had provided. Their difficulties illustrated the practical impact of removing specialized capabilities from team operations. Evening brought news that the panel had completed their deliberations and would announce their decision the following morning. The announcement created anticipation throughout the exercise facility, as cadets and instructors awaited resolution of a situation that had challenged fundamental assumptions about Royal Guard training and operations. Marcus spent his final evening in suspension, preparing for multiple possible outcomes, from career termination to specialized assignment paths that might utilize his demonstrated capabilities. His preparation reflected the analytical approach that had characterized his academy experience, attempting to anticipate and prepare for various scenarios that might unfold. Lieutenant Stone's final conversation with Marcus before the panel's announcement emphasized the broader significance of his situation beyond personal career implications. His performance had forced a re-examination of training methodologies and evaluation criteria that could influence future generations of Royal Guard members. Regardless of the immediate decision, his impact on institutional thinking would extend far beyond his individual circumstances. The Academy's most unconventional cadet awaited a decision that would determine whether the Royal Guard could accommodate approaches that differed from established traditions. His precision shot had demonstrated capabilities that exceeded conventional expectations, but questions remained about how those capabilities might be integrated into an organization built on standardized procedures and collective action. Tomorrow would bring resolution to questions that extended beyond Marcus's individual future, to address fundamental issues about the nature of excellence and the value of diverse capabilities within elite protective organizations. His journey from overlooked cadet to the center of institutional debate illustrated the complex relationship between individual innovation and organizational tradition. Colonel Mitchell called the assembly to order at precisely 0800 hours, her voice cutting through the morning stillness as cadets formed ranks in the facility's central parade ground. The overnight frost had created a crystalline coating on the exercise buildings, lending an ethereal quality to the moment that would determine Marcus's fate and potentially alter the future direction of Royal Guard training doctrine. Marcus stood apart from his classmates in the front rank, positioned where he could face the evaluation panel directly. His uniform bore the subtle signs of 3 days spent in administrative limbo, though his posture remained military straight despite the uncertainty that had consumed his thoughts throughout the sleepless night. The assembled cadets maintained disciplined silence, though the tension was palpable among individuals who understood that this decision would establish precedents affecting all their careers. The evaluation panel had expanded overnight to include General Harrison Webb, the Royal Guard's commanding officer, whose presence elevated the proceedings beyond a simple academy discipline matter to a question of institutional policy. General Webb's weathered features revealed nothing of the deliberations that had occupied senior leadership throughout the previous evening, though his reputation for decisive action suggested that today's announcement would carry significant consequences. Colonel Mitchell's preliminary remarks emphasized the complexity of the issues raised by Marcus's actions during the parade scenario. Her measured delivery acknowledged both the exceptional nature of his marksmanship achievement and the serious questions regarding protocol adherence and command authority that his decisions had generated. The colonel's words were chosen carefully, reflecting awareness that this moment would be remembered and analyzed by future Royal Guard generations. The detailed review of Marcus's shot began with technical analysis provided by Master Sergeant Kyle, whose expertise in long-range marksmanship lent credibility to his assessment. Kyle's description of the engagement conditions, target presentation, and required shooting solution emphasized the extraordinary difficulty of the shot that Marcus had successfully executed. His professional judgment carried weight among assembled personnel who understood the rarity of such marksmanship capability. Kyle's testimony revealed that Marcus's bullet had struck within a 4-inch group at 1,047 meters, under conditions that challenged even experienced military snipers. The atmospheric factors, target size, and time pressure had created a shooting solution that Kyle estimated fewer than 50 individuals worldwide could have executed successfully. His analysis placed Marcus's achievement within the context of elite military marksmanship rather than academy training standards. Dr. Foster's psychological assessment addressed concerns about Marcus's decision-making process and mental state during the critical engagement period. Her evaluation concluded that his actions reflected calculated tactical thinking rather than impulsive behavior or disregard for authority. The psychological profile supported conclusions that Marcus had consciously weighed risks and consequences before choosing to violate protocol in service of mission success. The doctor's testimony emphasized Marcus's exceptional stress tolerance and analytical thinking under pressure, characteristics that aligned with psychological profiles of successful special operations personnel. Her assessment suggested that his unconventional approach represented strength rather than limitation, indicating that traditional evaluation criteria might inadequately measure capabilities required for specialized roles within the Royal Guard structure. Lieutenant Stone's expanded testimony provided detailed documentation of Marcus's training progression and demonstrated dedication to skill development. Her records revealed hundreds of hours of additional practice time that Marcus had invested in marksmanship improvement, often during periods when other cadets were engaged in recreational activities or studying subjects that came easily to him. The lieutenant's testimony challenged assumptions about natural talent versus developed capability, illustrating how persistent effort had transformed Marcus from a marginal marksman into someone capable of extraordinary precision. Her documentation suggested that the Academy's standard training programs might not provide adequate opportunities for cadets to develop specialized skills that could enhance overall Royal Guard capabilities. Captain Williams maintained his position regarding Marcus's overall suitability for standard Royal Guard duties, while acknowledging the exceptional nature of his marksmanship skills. Williams argued that Royal Guard effectiveness depended on proven ability across multiple competency areas, rather than outstanding performance in specialized domains that might rarely be required during operational assignments. The captain's concerns reflected institutional wisdom accumulated through decades of operational experience, emphasizing the importance of reliable performance in routine protective duties that constituted the majority of Royal Guard responsibilities. His testimony supported traditional evaluation criteria while raising valid questions about how specialized capabilities might be integrated into conventional operational structures. General Webb's intervention shifted the discussion toward broader policy implications that extended beyond Marcus's individual case. His questions addressed strategic considerations about Royal Guard capability development and the potential value of maintaining specialized personnel whose skills might prove crucial during extraordinary circumstances that fell outside normal operational parameters. The general's perspective revealed awareness that modern security threats were evolving in ways that might challenge traditional protective approaches. His interest in Marcus's capabilities suggested recognition that future scenarios might require tactical options that exceeded current Royal Guard doctrine, indicating potential institutional openness to innovation and specialized skill development. The panel's discussion of precedent and policy implications consumed significant time as officers grappled with questions about how to balance individual innovation with institutional discipline. Their deliberations addressed concerns that excessive accommodation of unconventional approaches might undermine the standardized procedures that ensured coordinated effectiveness during complex operations involving multiple team members. Marcus was invited to address the panel regarding his understanding of the issues his actions had raised and his perspective on how specialized capabilities might be integrated into Royal Guard operations. His response demonstrated the analytical thinking that had distinguished his academic performance, while acknowledging the legitimate concerns about protocol adherence and command authority that his decisions had generated. His presentation to the panel was methodical and respectful, emphasizing his commitment to Royal Guard service, while proposing potential frameworks for utilizing specialized skills within existing organizational structures. Marcus suggested that enhanced reconnaissance and precision engagement capabilities could complement rather than replace traditional protective methods, providing additional options during scenarios where conventional approaches might prove insufficient. The discussion revealed Marcus's sophisticated understanding of tactical principles and organizational dynamics, challenging preconceptions about his suitability for leadership responsibilities within Royal Guard structure. His responses to panel questions demonstrated strategic thinking that extended beyond technical marksmanship skills to encompass broader operational considerations. Jonathan Hayes was called forward to provide additional peer perspective regarding the impact of Marcus's actions on cadet morale and unit cohesion. His testimony was more nuanced than his previous statements, acknowledging that Marcus's achievement had earned respect from classmates who had previously dismissed his capabilities, while maintaining concerns about the precedent established by protocol violations. Hayes admitted that observing Marcus's precision shot had forced him to reconsider assumptions about effectiveness and capability that had guided his own approach to academy training. His acknowledgement represented a significant shift from his earlier dismissive attitude, suggesting that Marcus's achievement had influenced even the most traditionally minded cadets. The morning session concluded with panel deliberations conducted outside cadet hearing, though the extended discussion period suggested that the decision involved more complexity than a simple determination of individual punishment or reward. The officers' debate addressed fundamental questions about Royal Guard identity and the appropriate balance between tradition and innovation. During the deliberation period, Marcus's classmates engaged in subdued conversations that reflected their own uncertainty about the implications of the panel's eventual decision. Some expressed admiration for his achievement, while others worried about the precedent that rewarding protocol violations might establish. The divided opinions illustrated broader tensions within military culture regarding individual initiative and institutional authority. Kevin Park approached Marcus during the break, offering quiet support regardless of the panel's decision while expressing amazement at capabilities he had never suspected his roommate possessed. Their conversation revealed the personal cost of Marcus's journey, as months of perceived inadequacy had masked the development of extraordinary skills that few had bothered to observe. Lieutenant Stone used the deliberation period to discuss potential career paths with Marcus, emphasizing that exceptional marksmanship skills would be valued within various military and law enforcement organizations, even if the Royal Guard determined that his approach was incompatible with their operational requirements. Her guidance provided perspective about opportunities that might emerge regardless of the immediate decision. The afternoon session resumed with Colonel Mitchell's announcement that the panel had reached consensus regarding both Marcus's immediate status and broader policy recommendations affecting future Royal Guard training and evaluation procedures. Her introduction suggested that the decision would address multiple levels of issues raised by his unprecedented performance. General Webb assumed primary responsibility for delivering the panel's findings, his authoritative presence emphasizing the significance of conclusions that had required consultation with senior Royal Guard leadership. His preliminary remarks acknowledged the exceptional circumstances that had brought the evaluation panel together and the importance of decisions that would influence institutional direction. The General's announcement began with recognition of Marcus's extraordinary marksmanship achievement and tactical analysis capabilities that had exceeded all previous academy performance standards. His acknowledgement provided official validation of skills that had developed largely outside institutional recognition, establishing Marcus's credibility within the Royal Guard community. Webb's statement continued with discussion of protocol violations and command authority issues that Marcus's actions had raised. The General emphasized that military effectiveness depended on disciplined adherence to established procedures, though he acknowledged that exceptional circumstances might occasionally require individual initiative that exceeded normal authorization levels. The panel's decision regarding Marcus's status reflected careful consideration of competing interests and values that defined Royal Guard culture. Their conclusion attempted to balance recognition of exceptional capability with maintenance of institutional discipline, creating a precedent that would guide future responses to similar situations. General Webb announced the creation of a new specialized position within the Royal Guard structure, designed to utilize capabilities like those Marcus had demonstrated while maintaining integration with traditional protective operations. The position would combine advanced reconnaissance, tactical analysis, and precision engagement responsibilities that had proven valuable during the exercise scenarios. Marcus's assignment to this newly created role represented institutional recognition that specialized skills could enhance rather than conflict with standard Royal Guard capabilities. His appointment carried the rank of specialist, acknowledging his unique qualifications while providing a career path that utilized his demonstrated strengths within established organizational structures. The announcement included provisions for enhanced training opportunities that would further develop Marcus's specialized skills while ensuring his continued integration with conventional Royal Guard operations. His future assignments would involve both independent responsibilities and coordination with traditional protective teams, creating a hybrid role that addressed institutional needs for diverse capabilities. The decision also included modifications to academy training programs that would provide opportunities for other cadets to develop specialized skills that complemented standard curricula. These changes reflected recognition that Royal Guard effectiveness might be enhanced by accommodating diverse capabilities rather than enforcing strict uniformity of approach and method. Lieutenant Stone's appointment as coordinator of the new specialized training program represented institutional commitment to developing capabilities that had been identified through Marcus's exceptional performance. Her experience with unconventional approaches and proven ability to recognize potential in unlikely candidates made her the logical choice to oversee this expansion of Royal Guard capabilities. The afternoon concluded with Marcus's formal acceptance of his new assignment and his oath to uphold Royal Guard traditions while contributing specialized capabilities to enhance organizational effectiveness. His transformation from overlooked cadet to institutional innovator represented a personal triumph that would influence Royal Guard development for years to come. The evaluation panel's decisions established precedents that would guide future responses to individuals whose capabilities differed from traditional norms while maintaining institutional values that had ensured Royal Guard effectiveness throughout its distinguished history. The balance between innovation and tradition had been carefully calibrated to accommodate exceptional talent while preserving organizational cohesion. As evening approached, Marcus reflected on a journey that had begun with universal underestimation and culminated in institutional recognition of capabilities that few had believed possible. His precision shot had changed not only his own trajectory but also expanded the Royal Guard's understanding of effectiveness and the value of specialized excellence within collective operations. 6 months after his graduation from the Royal Guard Academy, Marcus stood on the rooftop of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel, his specialized equipment calibrated for the most challenging assignment of his brief but remarkable career. The autumn evening provided perfect atmospheric conditions for long-range observation, with clear visibility and minimal wind that would allow precise engagement if circumstances required exceptional intervention. Below him, the annual International Peace Summit brought together world leaders whose security represented the highest stakes in modern diplomatic protection. Traditional Royal Guard units maintained close protective formations around the delegates, while Marcus provided overwatch capabilities that extended the security perimeter far beyond conventional limits. His position offered sightlines across the entire governmental district, creating a protective umbrella that would have been impossible using standard methods. The months following his academy graduation had been transformative, both personally and professionally. His specialized training under Lieutenant Stone's guidance had refined skills that were already exceptional, while exposure to real-world operational scenarios had demonstrated the practical value of capabilities that had initially been viewed with skepticism by the Royal Guard establishment. Marcus's first operational assignment had involved protecting a visiting foreign minister whose intelligence briefings suggested potential threats from sophisticated adversaries with military training. Traditional security measures had been supplemented by Marcus's advanced reconnaissance capabilities, allowing the protective detail to identify and neutralize a surveillance team that had been operating beyond the range of standard detection methods. The success of that initial mission had established Marcus's credibility within operational circles and demonstrated that his academy performance had not been an isolated achievement. His ability to provide tactical intelligence and precision engagement options had enhanced rather than conflicted with conventional protective approaches, validating the institutional decision to accommodate specialized capabilities within traditional structures. Lieutenant Stone had proven to be an exceptional mentor, her understanding of unconventional tactical approaches providing guidance that accelerated Marcus's development into a truly elite specialist. Under her tutelage, he had mastered advanced techniques that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible in precision marksmanship and tactical analysis. Their training sessions had become legendary within the Royal Guard, drawing observers who wanted to witness capabilities that exceeded normal human performance. The specialized training program that had emerged from Marcus's academy experience had attracted candidates from across the military establishment. Though few possessed the combination of analytical ability and dedication required for success, Marcus had become the program's first graduate and its most prominent success story. Though he remained focused on operational excellence rather than personal recognition, His current assignment represented the ultimate test of capabilities that had been developed through months of intensive training and refined through operational experience. The Peace Summit's security requirements exceeded anything previously attempted by the Royal Guard, with threat assessments indicating potential challenges that would test every aspect of protective doctrine and specialized capability. Intelligence reports suggested that several hostile organizations had identified the summit as a target for spectacular attacks designed to disrupt international relations and demonstrate their operational reach. The threats included sophisticated adversaries with military training, advanced equipment, and tactical knowledge that would challenge conventional security responses. Marcus's position provided coverage of potential threat areas that extended more than 1,500 meters from the summit venue, encompassing elevated positions, concealed approaches, and observation points that could serve hostile reconnaissance or attack purposes. His equipment included the most advanced optics and communication systems available, allowing him to coordinate seamlessly with ground-based protective teams while maintaining independent operational capability. The morning's intelligence briefing had emphasized concerns about a specific threat group known for employing former military personnel in complex operations designed to overcome sophisticated security measures. Their operational profile suggested they would attempt to exploit gaps in conventional protective coverage, making Marcus's extended surveillance capabilities particularly valuable for this assignment. His communication system provided direct links to all protective team leaders, intelligence coordinators, and command authorities responsible for summit security. Unlike his academy experience, where protocol limitations had prevented effective communication, his current assignment included authorization for immediate tactical communication and independent engagement authority under specified circumstances. The summit's first day had proceeded without major incidents, though Marcus had identified several suspicious individuals whose behavior warranted enhanced surveillance. His reports had enabled ground teams to investigate potential threats before they could develop into serious challenges, demonstrating the value of advanced reconnaissance in complex security environments. His elevated position allowed observation of crowd dynamics and individual behaviors that would be impossible to detect from ground level. The patterns of movement, communication, and positioning that indicated potential hostile reconnaissance were clearly visible through his advanced optical systems, providing early warning that enhanced the effectiveness of traditional protective measures. Jonathan Hayes led one of the primary protective details responsible for close protection of key delegates, his leadership and tactical competence having developed significantly since academy graduation. Their professional relationship had evolved from academy rivalry to mutual respect, based on recognition that diverse capabilities could complement rather than conflict with each other. Hayes had privately acknowledged that observing Marcus's precision shot during the academy exercise had fundamentally changed his understanding of individual capability and the potential value of specialized skills within collective operations. His current willingness to coordinate with Marcus's overwatch position demonstrated institutional evolution in attitudes toward unconventional approaches. Derek Morrison commanded a rapid response team positioned for immediate deployment to any location where threats materialized beyond the capabilities of static protective units. His physical capabilities and aggressive tactical approach remained valuable assets that provided options for situations requiring direct action and overwhelming force application. The integration of specialized and conventional capabilities had required extensive coordination and training that pushed all participants beyond their comfort zones. The exercise scenarios that prepared them for the summit had tested every aspect of their collective capabilities, while refining communication and coordination procedures that would be essential during actual operations. Marcus's position required absolute vigilance and sustained concentration that challenged even his exceptional mental discipline. Hours of continuous observation through high-magnification optics created physical and psychological stress that demanded conditioning developed through months of specialized training. His ability to maintain focus while processing vast amounts of visual information represented capabilities that few individuals could sustain. The afternoon brought the summit's most challenging scenario, as delegates moved to an outdoor ceremony that expanded the security perimeter and created multiple exposure points that tested every aspect of protective coverage. Marcus's overwatch position became critical as traditional protective formations adapted to the complex environment while maintaining coverage of all potential threat vectors. His surveillance detected the first indication of coordinated hostile activity at 1,447 hours, when individuals at 3 separate observation points began exhibiting synchronized behavior patterns that suggested professional reconnaissance rather than casual observation. The positioning and timing of their activities indicated sophisticated tactical knowledge that confirmed intelligence assessments about the threat level facing the summit. Marcus's immediate report to command authorities initiated enhanced alert status throughout the security apparatus, while ground teams began coordinated responses to investigate the identified threats. His ability to detect patterns across extended distances provided tactical intelligence that would have been impossible to gather using conventional observation methods. The hostile reconnaissance team's sophistication became apparent as ground investigation revealed they had established observation posts that provided comprehensive coverage of the ceremony venue while remaining outside the range of some standard security sweeps. Their positions indicated professional military training and detailed advance planning that suggested a serious operational intent. The afternoon's tension escalated when Marcus detected movement in a building complex nearly 2,000 meters from the ceremony site that showed signs of hostile preparation for long-range engagement. The distance exceeded even his extended surveillance range, though atmospheric conditions and elevated position allowed observation of activities that indicated immediate threat development. His report triggered emergency protocols that initiated rapid evacuation procedures for the exposed outdoor ceremony, while tactical response teams moved to investigate and neutralize the identified threat position. The coordinated response demonstrated how specialized capabilities could enhance rather than replace conventional protective measures when integrated effectively within operational structures. Marcus maintained overwatch of the evacuation while providing tactical intelligence about threat positioning and apparent capabilities based on equipment and personnel observations. His analysis indicated multiple individuals with apparent military training who possessed equipment suitable for precision long-range attacks against high-value targets. The threat materialized as a coordinated assault designed to overwhelm security responses through simultaneous attacks from multiple positions that exceeded conventional protective coverage. The complexity of the attack confirmed intelligence assessments, while testing every aspect of the enhanced security measures that incorporated Marcus's specialized capabilities. His position provided the only observation point that could monitor all threat locations simultaneously while maintaining communication with response teams operating across the extended operational area. The coordination requirements exceeded anything previously attempted by Royal Guard forces while demonstrating the value of diverse capabilities during complex scenarios. The decisive moment arrived when the primary threat position began engaging ceremony attendees despite ongoing evacuation procedures, creating a situation that required immediate neutralization to prevent catastrophic casualties among world leaders, whose safety represented international responsibilities extending far beyond normal protective duties. Marcus's engagement of the primary threat at 2,089 meters under challenging atmospheric conditions represented the longest precision shot in Royal Guard history, while occurring under pressure that exceeded any training scenario. The mathematical precision required for success pushed his capabilities to absolute limits, while occurring in circumstances where failure would have resulted in international catastrophe. His shot neutralized the primary threat, while enabling tactical response teams to successfully address secondary positions that had been coordinated to create overlapping fields of fire. The success of the combined response validated the integration of specialized and conventional capabilities while demonstrating institutional wisdom in accommodating unconventional approaches within traditional structures. The summit concluded successfully despite the sophisticated threat that had challenged every aspect of security planning and operational execution. Marcus's contribution had proven decisive in preventing what intelligence analysis subsequently confirmed would have been a catastrophic attack against the international community's most senior leadership. The recognition that followed his performance established Marcus as the Royal Guard's premier specialist, while generating international interest in the innovative approaches that had enhanced traditional protective capabilities. His journey from underestimated cadet to essential operational asset illustrated the value of persistence and specialized excellence within organizations willing to accommodate diverse approaches to common challenges. Years later, Marcus would reflect on the precision shot that had changed everything, recognizing that success had required not only individual capability, but also institutional wisdom that recognized potential in unlikely places and created opportunities for unconventional excellence to flourish within traditional structures. His story became inspiration for future generations who possessed unique talents that differed from established norms, but could contribute to collective success when properly recognized and developed. The Royal Guard had been transformed by accommodating capabilities that initially appeared incompatible with institutional traditions, demonstrating that excellence could emerge from unexpected sources when organizations remained open to innovation while preserving core values. Marcus's legacy extended beyond individual achievement to influence institutional development that would benefit generations of future protectors whose diverse talents could enhance rather than threaten traditional excellence. His precision shot had indeed changed everything. Not through dramatic revolution, but through careful evolution that recognized the value of specialized capability within collective endeavors. The underestimation he had faced had been replaced by recognition that true excellence often emerged from sources that defied conventional expectations, requiring wisdom to identify and courage to support, regardless of initial appearances or traditional assumptions about capability and potential.